Hey guys, it's from Mo in the Deep End, and there's Fry, and we are doing mornings with Mo and Fry, and we have a bunch of fun stories for you today. Some not so fun stories, but what are you going to do? It's news. But I've tried to find some interesting stories for you guys. And the first one, a French nun tackles environmental protester attempting to stop construction of a religious center. Good morning, Christine and Rain. Good morning, good morning. And I will have to say that this French nun is going on my fantasy rugby team. Good morning, Charlotte. I don't think I've seen you here before, so welcome, welcome. A French nun was seen tackling an environmental protester outside construction of a new religious center in what quickly became a viral video online. On Saturday, members of an eco group, Les Amis de la Bourgeoisie, which translates to Friends of the Village, attempted to protest the building of a new religious complex in Saint Pierre de Combières. Look, I am butchering this. I took Spanish, not French, and I've managed to forget all of that except the entire Taco Bell menu. I was a terrible foreign language student. I should have paid attention more. Construction was surrounded by a group of nuns from the missionary family of Notre Dame, or if you're from, oh, thank you. Thank you for being a new sub, and thank you for joining me. Or if you're from my neck of the woods, Notre Dame, forming a human chain around the area to stop. Yes, I did. And I'm going through and I'm adding them. I've just found news stories. There is no video, or there is a video. I will play it. It's a little bit down in the article, so you will see it. There won't be any sound. I will say she does not go for the hips. Now, I am not a sports ball fanatic, but I do know, being raised by sports ball fanatics, that you go for the hips. So with more coaching, I think this nun could be phenomenal. That's what I'm saying. She is teachable. She has the spirit. She has the drive. She is going to be on my fantasy rugby team. Altercations reportedly began in the early morning, leading one of the sisters tackling a protester who was running with what appeared to be building materials to the ground, while other protesters stomped on piping materials. Quote, "I didn't expect that," co-president of the Association for the Future of the Borge Valley, Sylviane Herringel, told public broadcast channel France 3, "I expected the nuns to be a little reasonable for the public order." The problem is that the religious people who decided to resort to violence. I was attacked 3 times by 5 people who snatched me and wanted to throw me out of there. They decided to protect their site with their actions and their bodies. Look, y'all eco people have done ticked everyone off. You glue yourself to the roads, you glue yourself to priceless artwork, you destroy stuff. Instead of being reasonable, you have done ticked everyone off. Now, you won't hear sound, but you will watch this nun. Now, she doesn't go for the hips, but I think she's teachable. And I think that that was a pretty good tackle. And quite frankly, people around the world are getting a little bit tired of college kids and people that have vacation houses telling the rest of us who are waiting, and people that are stopping ambulances. You know, basically people with MacBooks and Chromebooks and everything else telling us how to save the world when components of those laptops are being mined by child labor. It's a little bit rich to hear about, global warming and that kind of stuff from champagne socialist. So it's getting a little bit tiresome. If you want to have a real conversation, stop being jerks. Okay? How about that? Following the confrontation, the nuns resumed a more peaceful stance, singing while blocking the surrounding protesters. Approximately 10 police officers were also in the area. According to the environmentalist group, the construction threatens several rare plant species that have not been properly protected. Good morning, rabbit and AC wildflower. Like, because I'm willing to have most people want to be good stewards of the environment. I get on all of my children, we don't litter, you know, we don't, we want to be good stewards of our environment. That's why I have you clean your room. You know, we want to be good things and we want to take care of stuff, you know, but there's a limit to which people will take jackassery. Okay. And this nun had just had enough. You're lucky she didn't have a ruler, okay? Quote, there is a receta of jackfruit noted by the French Biodiversity Office, and it is not in the environmental study on which the prefect relied to restart the construction site. They do not have authorization to destroy habitats of protected species, Herringel added. Construction on the project originally began in December 2018 with plans to construct a basilica that could hold 3,500 people. Since then, construction has faced significant backlash from environmental organizations, including several demonstrations halting the progress. By June 2022, activists called a Zone to Defend ZAD around the area, eventually leading to construction being halted by October of that year. However, construction resumed in 2022 following additional environmental studies of the area. The Mission family of Notre Dame and the Les Dames de Bourges didn't immediately respond for comment. So, you know what? Again, if you're gonna be a jerk face, if you're gonna go to construction sites and steal things, nuns aren't for stealing. I'm just saying. But let's see the tackle again, because look, it's kind of funny. I don't want to see the replies. I just want to see the tackle. And she comes not for the hips. She goes a little high, but he's in the dirt. Interception, and he's wearing a man ponytail, and he's down. And she gets up, fumble. Okay, I've had a little too much fun with this one because I'm kind of a jerk, but it is what it is. Now, which one was okay? In our next news, okay, so I can click that. Well, two things can be true at once. So, a Hell's Angel member who organized toy runs for kids also arranged for illegal cremations to make bodies disappear. So, two things can be true at once. You can help kids and illegally cremate people, which may come in handy later for another story that we will go into. This knowledge may prove useful for another story. Keep that in mind. Hell's Angel Motorcycle Club member arranged to have 4 bodies cremated in order to make them disappear, federal prosecutors said in a sentencing memorandum filed last week in California. Merle Hefferman, 54, is scheduled to be sentenced on Thursday after pleading guilty in December to obstructing justice. He was one of Thank you, you guys. I did promise. I am going up to the mall tomorrow. I was saving this news, but I will tell you guys now, all 4 of you. But still, so tomorrow, Thursday, the Delphi hearing is supposed to be televised, or they're allowing cameras in. Now, it is right at 2, which is the time that I generally have to pick up the boys, but what I'm planning to do is pick up the boys, and then I will be going back, and we will be a little bit late, but I plan to haul behind and get the boys, and then we will start as close to 3 as I can. So we will be about an hour behind, but I will be covering that. So hopefully Long Crime will have a feed there, or I can pull a local feed and we will get that. Yes. I am shocked. Yes, so we will be doing that. So in the morning, I will not have a boy in the box kind of catch up stream. We will be starting the defense case this morning right after this with about a 10-minute break so I can get Fry out to do his business. But that's the plan for tomorrow so I can do a couple errands. Uh Oldest son got on the AB honor roll, so I did promise him a trip to the mall for bribery because we do bribe around here for good grades. Uh he was one of 11 Hells Angels members named in a 2018 superseding indictment alleging racketeering and conspiracy to commit murder. Prosecutors with the Northern District of California wrote that Hefferman admitted he had murder victim Joel Silva's body illegally cremated on or about June 16th, 2014. Quote, Hefferman obstructed justice. He also caused immense pain to Silva's family. They have no body to mourn, no closure, no certainty about what happened to Silva until Group 1 trial in 2022, nearly 8 years after Silva disappeared, prosecutors wrote. Levi Phillips, cremator manager at Yost and Webb Funeral Home in Fresno, testified at the trial of Hefferman's co-defendants that before Silva's murder, Hefferman became fascinated with the crematory and asked for the keys to the facility so that he could make something disappear someday. Yeah, it is really a rabbit hole. The day after Silva was murdered, Hefferman called Phillips to say that he better be at the crematory. Later that day, two men, one of whom Phillips identified as Hefferman's stepson, came to the crematory, threatened him with a gun, and loaded Silva's body into the incinerator, prosecutors wrote. The next day, Hefferman called Phillips to tell him to be quiet about the illegal cremation. Cell phone records corroborated Phillips' story, according to prosecutors. Phillips testified that 3 other cremations were carried out in a similar fashion. Several months after Silva's murder, Hefferman facilitated another cremation, this one later identified as Robbie Huff, a former Hells Angel member, who went missing on February 11th, 2015. Prosecutors say Huff was involved in Silva's murder and cover-up. Yeah, I did not realize that this was gonna be a real I thought they were thinking bonfire, but he actually just scared a poor funeral home guy to death. Uh, Cell phone records show Hefferman contacted Phillips several times the day Huff went missing. This time, Hefferman personally delivered the body to the crematoria to have the body incinerated, prosecutors allege. The third body to be incinerated was Art Casillas, who was last seen in Fresno's Hells Angel Clubhouse on July 2016. Finally, a fourth body was cremated, but this body has yet to be publicly identified. Phillips testified 2 men arrived at the facility, unloaded a body wrapped in plastic and duct tape. All 4 bodies that were incinerated were believed to have been murdered. Well, no, not the body with duct tape. No, he did it himself. Prosecutors allege one of the most chilling aspects of Silva's murder was that he was planning his 15th daughter's birthday when he was killed at the Fresno's Hells Angel Clubhouse. Silva's mother wrote in an impact statement that her son's death has impacted us to the point of sleepless nights, nightmares, and a huge financial loss for myself and sister-in-law, Stacy Silva. Not knowing where our son was for years was difficult and extremely emotional, his mother wrote. Prosecutors are asking the judge to sentence Hefferman to more than 7 years in prison. Hefferman's attorney, James Bustamante, wrote in his own sentencing memo that his clients had a tumultuous and violent upbringing and was thrown out of a second-story window, then down 2 flights of stairs when he was 6 months old. His mother became romantically involved with his father's best friend, who threw the father out of a car and ran over his legs. Holy what in the Jerry Springer? Bustamante also alleged that Hefferman's stepfather was abusive to him and his mother. When Mr. Hefferman was 7 years old, he came from home from school to find his stepfather dragging his mother around the house by her hair. His stepfather then pulled a gun out and shot at Mr. Hefferman 4 times, Bustamante wrote. As a result of this incident, Mr. Hefferman packed up his belongings, including a sleeping bag, and left home. Bustamante also wrote that Hefferman has complied with all the court's requirements since his arrest in 2018. They are asking that Hefferman should be sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. Okay, sweetie, I don't think that's going to happen. Uh, well, Sal, I don't know that this man is going to get 2.5 years for incinerating 4 people. I mean, 4 dead bodies. I don't know how linked he is to the murder, but he definitely did cremate them illegally. Several friends wrote character letters about Hefferman's charitable work in the Fresno community, including bike and toy giveaways. In December 2016, just months after he allegedly had Carrasis's body illegally cremated, Hefferman went on local Fox affiliate KMPH to promote the 18th annual Fresno's Hells Angel Toy Run. He described all the support as awesome. The need is so great for these kids, he said. Well, um, 2 things can be true at the same time. He could have had a troubled childhood, and he could also be a violent person. He could try to be doing good things for children, and he could also be involved in a violent motorcycle gang. I don't think you're getting 2 years, sir. I'm just spitballing here. But, um, this is just a general warning, but don't do it at home lip filler. I didn't know that this was actually something we had to do an article on, but apparently this is a trend now. Experts warn against dangerous DIY lip filler trend. Sounds pretty traumatic. For the love of all that is holy, why are people doing this? Do you want to look like you have an allergic reaction? I cannot with people. Look, it looks silly. If you have naturally full lips, embrace it. If you have naturally not full lips, they have lip glosses that plumps your lips. I don't get. In an effort to cut cost, women are using DIY injectables to plump their pout at home. Don't. Uh, Online TikTokers have touted their self-injections of hyaluronic acid, a commonly used filler, to the dismay of doctors everywhere. One woman boasted that her lips double in size for a cheaper price while using an at-home injection Hydrolon pen, which appears to be sold on eBay for about $40 depending on vendor, while others demonstrate how to use the device. Yeah, next will be at-home vasectomies. Your wife can get involved for half the price. No, no anesthesia needed, just use a cold bag of peas. I mean, I'm throwing something out there. The alarming beauty trend coincides with a rise in cosmetic procedures, especially among Gen Z. In 2022, acid filler injections accounted for 4,883,419 aesthetic procedures, a 70% increase from 2019. A syringe can be costly. Patients cough up an average of $684 for the derma filler, according to the American Association of Plastic Surgeons, making an at-home cost-effective method all the more alluring. Quote, I can understand that someone may see a product like this in a TikTok video or heard of a friend who had a quote, good result, Cleveland Clinic plastic surgeon Martin Newman, based in Florida, said in a statement. Quote, unfortunately, some folks will try something without doing their homework simply because someone else has done it first and had an acceptable outcome. Oh, this just looks like a terrible idea. No, don't start injecting yourself. Say no. This just seems like, okay. The popularized needleless device used compressed air to push the acid through the skin, which Newman says sounds pretty traumatic. Quote, the first question you have to ask is how can you push a dermafiller whose physical properties are that of a viscous gel like jello through the skin, he mused. While similar devices are effective in delivering medication or immunizations, expert warns that it is insufficient for a dermafiller. Uh, Quote, my concern is that the procedure is not controllable, Newman cautioned, adding that the injector cannot control how deep the acid is going. And when doing a procedure like this, you need to have meticulous control over exactly where and what and how much you're injecting, not to mention the acid bought from online retailers might not be medical grade. Those are some eyebrows. And he has a tiny microphone. I love it. Okay. The Food and Drug Administration has previously warned customers about the dangers of at-home dermafiller administration using needleless devices. Complications that include blindness, stroke, death, or decay of tissue, bleeding, infection, scarring, skin lumps, discoloration. Quote, the FDA has not evaluated the safety and effectiveness of needle-free devices or injection of any dermafiller, the agency stated. The FDA has also not approved the marketing of needle-free devices for injection of these products. Um, Look, I don't generally give blanket statements, but don't. And ladies, look, if you can make a real good casserole, your husband would appreciate, your boyfriend, your wife, whomever, your dog, your cats. All they really want is a good casserole. I Look, needles squeak me out. In other news, Britney Spears has a book, and, she basically goes, uh well, she spills the beans on curly-haired ramen noodle curls, Justin Timberlake. So if you wanna know all about that, go to Britney Spears Writes a Book. It's pretty much all I'm gonna say about that, because she has just descended into all the cray cray, and I can understand it because she was treated like a commodity for years, but she does, claim that she and Justin had a baby and he had her have an abortion. I don't know. I'm not reading the book. I generally don't read celebrity books. I'm just saying it is there as something if you wanna do. If you want to read, you can read it. In other news, Florida, whoa, man. Oh my gosh. All right, Florida woman arrested for allegedly stealing her mother's car and running her over because she couldn't do both without doing one or the other. And that's the face. Are we shocked? This face with this headline. Are we shocked? Did she do at-home lip filler? Are we seeing a correlation? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if she did at-home lip filler. A Florida woman was arrested after allegedly beating up her mother and stealing her car following an argument. Last Thursday afternoon, 25-year-old Amber Shekron Rusnak reportedly had a heated argument with her mother in Cocoa, Florida, during which she physically assaulted her. After the altercation, Sharon Rusnak is accused of stealing her mother's car and striking her with it. A witness called 911 to report the incident. The police arrived to find Sharon Rusnak's mother injured. She was subsequently taken to the hospital in critical but stable condition. The exact cause of their argument remains unclear. I'm gonna go ahead and say this, just this entire face. I'm gonna say crazy eyes. Look, this if you put this face in a movie and said, cray cray eyes, I'm gonna go ahead and believe it. Skurin Rusnak left the scene in her mother's car, which was later found abandoned. Brevard County Sheriff's officers, including along with a canine unit, were able to track down Skurin Rusnak as she appeared or attempted to hide nearby. She was taken into custody and charged with aggravated battery and carjacking. According to Fox 39 Orlando, the Cocoa Police Department also told the station that additional charges are pending as the investigation continues. This incident marks, this is an anniversary of sorts, a celebration, if you will. Skurin Rusnak's 10th arrest since 2018 and her fourth arrest this year. Well, that's why she's so proud. Do they have a little like punch card that, does she get a free coffee or something? Like 10% off her probation? I don't know. Her previous charges include domestic battery, drug possession, prostitution, and battery. Are we shocked? Hey, Bobby. I don't think we're shocked. This face does not say shocketh. Does that say slow above her eyes as a tattoo? Yeah, that face does not say I am humbled and upset to be in prison. In good news, because we need some good news, Jamal Hinton says he's spending 8th Thanksgiving with quote unquote grandma who invited him by accident and still getting texts from random numbers. So I love this story. I don't know if anyone has kept up with this story, but it's one of those little stories that comes up on your Facebook to make you feel good about humanity and not want to weld together a killdozer allegedly in Minecraft. But I believe 8 years ago, this woman sent, a random text to a wrong number and invited this gentleman to Thanksgiving, thinking it was, maybe a son of hers or something, and they've just continued the tradition of him coming to her Thanksgiving, and you know what? We just need a good story once in a while, so he is going to spend his 8th Thanksgiving, so let's read the story. Jamal Hinton and Grandma Wanda Dench are planning to celebrate Thanksgiving together for the 8th year in a row. The tradition began in 2016 when Dench accidentally texted Hinton, mistaking his number for her grandson's. Despite the mix up, Hinton infamously asked if he could still get a plate, and Dench warmly welcomed him. Grandma Dench extended him another invite the following year, and they kept the streak going, much to the delight of social media users everywhere. Despite the unusual situation that brought them together, the bond between the 24-year-old and the 66-year-old has grown stronger over the years. Even in 2022 or 2020, when the pandemic threatened their plans despite the loss of Dench's husband Lonnie to COVID-19. Another continuing tradition for Hinton is that he's still getting texts from unknown numbers. Quote, Thanksgiving around the corner, and I'm still receiving texts from random numbers. Year 8 plans are set with a great surprise, wrote Hinton on X along with laugh emojis. Before they could make it to another Thanksgiving feast, the two competed for a chance to win $2,500 or $250,000 on an episode of the game show The Cube that aired in June per People. Dench told the host, Dwayne Wade, that the two have become like family and go out to dinner throughout the year. It was also revealed on the episode that Hinton had only cooked a Thanksgiving dinner once in the past 6 years, with Grandma Dench tapping in to help. I had to show him how to do it old school, Dench said about Hinton's meal of steak, chicken, and rice. It was announced in 2021 that Netflix was developing a feature film inspired by Hinton and Dench's unlikely friendship. You know, we need stories like this sometimes just to remind us that the world can be a better place sometimes. And especially with her losing her husband and all the things that have gone kind of terribly wrong all the time. You know, it's easy to lose sight because we do newsy news that good things are happening all around us. They just don't get as much attention as the crazy. Uh, and remember when I said keep in mind that perhaps the Hells Angels skills might come in In handy, we have this story. At least 189 decomposed bodies were removed from a quote unquote green Colorado funeral home, which I think that doesn't that mean that they're already doing their job? But I digress. Investigators will begin identifying the bodies that have been improperly stored at Return to Nature Funeral Home, state authorities said. What the actual heck? Nearly 200 bodies were removed last week from a Colorado building owned by a funeral home that advertised, quote, green burials, a much higher number of human remains than investigators expected to find, authorities said Tuesday. Alerted by reports of a putrid smell coming from the building this month, officers in Penrose found a mass of improperly stored bodies. At that time, they could not confirm the number. On Friday, at least 189 bodies were removed from the Return to Nature funeral home, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation said in a statement. The bodies were taken to the El Paso County Coroner's Office, CBI said. Quote, the total number of decedents could change as identification and investigative process continues, the Bureau said. Fremont County coroner personnel will work to confirm the identities and notify families, CBI said. There is no timeline to complete these steps, it said. Fremont County Coroner Randy Keller said in a Tuesday statement, quote, we are conducting extensive coordination efforts as we focus on the identification of the decedents and provide notifications to ensure the families are given accurate information to prevent further victimization as they continue to grieve their loved ones. On October 6, authorities announced that at least 115 bodies had been improperly stored at the funeral home. Deputies were first sent to the building on October 3rd to investigate a suspicious incident, the sheriff's office said in a news release. The sheriff's office searched the property with a warrant the next day. Investigators determined human remains were being improperly stored. Quote, green burial is a natural way of caring for your loved one with minimal environmental impact, the funeral home's website says. I mean, it looks like it's closed. The funeral home's website says adding green burial aids in the conservation of natural resources with reduction of carbon emissions and the preservation of habitat without use of harsh chemical and embalming chemicals, metallic or plastic or unnatural items. Green burials are legal under California or Colorado law. Remains that are not buried within 24 hours, however, must be properly refrigerated. I would think so. What? What is wrong with people? Authorities said at a news conference October 6th that no arrests have been made, but investigators were in contact with local and federal prosecutors. I mean, yeah, I would think that someone's going to jail. I mean, that would be me, but, you know, perhaps I would think someone's going to jail. I would think. But who knows? Holy hell, the smell in that place. In awesomer news, Millennial Ryan Society has raves, bizarre rules, and 10,000 members. So if any one of you is a Ryan, you may be part of this special club. Yeah, I mean, I I am so I am so confused as to what they were supposed to be doing. I know there's a company that's supposed to turn you into like a tree womb thing. I don't know, but I I don't know. Maybe taxidermy me and have me have me holding a bowl so I can give out candy to children. I don't care. Uh, but if you are named Ryan, you can be part of this club. It promises to be a Ryan good time. This Saturday, Clinton Hall in Williamsburg will host the first ever Rytoberfest, an exclusive event just for those named Ryan. The beers will be flowing and the Bryans won't be going, the invite reads. Some 150 Ryans from as far away as Maine will be, potentially the West Coast will be expected to attend. Williamsburg's Pod Hotel is offering a 15% discount to Ryans making the trek. Quote, this is the most unusual event we've ever hosted, Clinton Hall owner Telly. Okay, y'all. What the actual heck? Hatzigergogorgu. Look, I'm very sorry for mispronouncing your last name, but that is an entire class unto itself. Mr. Telly told the Post. But it's got a great turnout in terms of RSVPs. It's the smartest thing I've ever heard in a long time. The event, which sprang out of the Ryan Meetup group, which launched in early 2023 and quickly took off. Ryan Rose, a 27-year-old photographer who lives in Bed-Stuy, started the group with the aim of bringing people together with the same name for the heck of it. Quote, I've lived here for 4 years and still feels it still feels like it's really hard to make friends, she said, even though there's so many people here. She made about 20 flyers and posted them around her neighborhood. Within 2 weeks, about 80 Ryans had signed up to be in the group on Meetup. Soon after, Rose hosted the very first Ryan Roundup, at Ryan McGuire's bar and restaurant, naturally in Seaport. Amusing but unnecessary Ryan name tags were handed out to the roughly 150 attendees, and the event was a big success. There was not really an icebreaker. Rose said everyone was just comfortable right away. It's so silly, it's so goofy, but it really just gets people talking to each other, added Ryan DeLay, a 24-year-old software designer who lives in Williamsburg, works remotely, and has been very active in the group. He estimates that he's made 8 new friends through it. Quote, people are just so down with the idea of this. Ooh, that's a thought. In recent months, a half a dozen Ryan parties have been held in New York City, Southern California, the Entry Polish District. A recent Ryan rave in Los Angeles featured a 3-tier system for checking IDs to make sure all attendees were indeed named Ryan. Rytoberfest will allow non-Ryans if they are supervising an underage Ryan. Quote, we had a Ryan that flew from Maine to Los Angeles to attend the Ryan rave. He told me, quote, I don't think of myself as a very social person, but I'm trying to change that. Lee, who is helping organize this weekend's party, told the Post. Quote, he's flying in again from Maine for Rytoberfest. The club has also spawned Ryan merch. There are hats bearing the slogan, No Bryans Allowed, and shirts that say, I Heart Ryan. The name Ryan peaked at 1991 when it was the 11th most popular name for boys, according to the Social Security Administration. It has since dipped and became 74th in 2022. Women named Ryan, like Rose, are far less common. In 2022, the moniker ranked 582nd in terms of popularity for girls, down from a height of 342nd in 1986. Rose, who previously tried creating meetup groups based around horror movies and ghost hunting with limited success, was surprised that the Ryan group took off. Quote, I really don't think I expected anything from it. It would have been fun just to hang out with a few Ryans every so often, she said, but it is fun to see it grow. The end game is to host a Ryan Con that will shatter the same name gathering world record. Europeans with the name, oh, for the love of goodness, this name, uh, something or Kupreski have held the name since 2017 with 2,325 people. A band of Kyles in Texas made a push to break the record earlier this year, but fell short by 500 people. But first, there's this weekend's Rytoberfest, which will include various games and potentially entertainers if they can find some that are named Ryan. No matter what, Ryan Cousins, a 32-year-old Brooklynite who is one of the club's first members, said attendees can expect to have a good time. Quote, "You'll be in a room with 100 or so other Ryans. That's a party that just never gets old," he said. Cousins works in advertising, and he said he was originally, quote, "a bit jealous to stumble upon one of Rose's flyers in his building earlier this year. I was like, quote, 'Who beat me to this?' he said. And then I was like, well, I need to get on in on it now. And I was hooked right off the bat. So, I say full steam ahead, Ryans, and you keep those Bryans out. No B." In, sad but good news, because I think we need to keep sight of this. The body of JJ Vallow released to grieving grandparents 3 years after the murder. So I did see this, and it's not really happy news, but it is closure news. Lori Vallow Daybell, the mother of JJ Vallow and his 16-year-old sister, Tylee Ryan, was convicted of their murders in May. The body of JJ Vallow, son of convicted murderess Lori Vallow Daybell, the Cray Cray, has been released to his grandparents more than 3 years after he was found dead in the backyard of his mother's husband's Idaho property. In electronic court filings reviewed by People, Judge Stephen Boyce on Monday signed off on a stipulation filed 5 days earlier by prosecutors in Fremont County, Idaho, ordering the 7-year-old body be returned to his next of kin. In this case, JJ's grandparents, Kay and Larry Woodcock, are his closest living relatives and will be finally able to lay him to rest. Quote, "The last several years have been filled with pain and grief as we traveled this long, arduous road," the Woodcocks wrote in a joint statement posted to X on Monday. "We have waited and prayed for this day for so long, and we are immeasurably relieved that JJ will finally be laid to rest." Quote, "We've spent the past days immersed in the memories of love and happiness that JJ shined and continues to shine in our life," the statement continued. "As we reminisce in the joy that JJ filled our lives with, our hearts ache for those that love JJ and share the immense grief and loss of such a beautiful little man." Lori Vallow Daybell, the mother of JJ and his 16-year-old sister, Tylee Ryan, was convicted of their murders in May, along with conspiring to murder Tammy Daybell. Tammy was married to Lori's fifth husband, Chad Daybell, for nearly 30 years before her death. Lori has since been sentenced to life in prison and is facing charges in Arizona on a separate case. JJ and Tylee went missing in September 2019. Tammy died in the home she shared with Chad on October 19th of the same year. 2 weeks later, on November 5th, Chad and Lori, an author who wrote about religious doomsday scenarios, married in Hawaii. So, well, I believe they needed it for evidence, and I think it finally got stipulated in Chad's case that, all the lawyers said they wouldn't need his body for the evidence. Since they separated Chad and Lori's case, I think that, Chad's lawyers, in not being dicks finally, were like, "Okay, I think we've got all the discovery that we need. We can turn this over." Now, I don't know where they are in Tylee's case, but I think this is a wonderful, it's not wonderful, but we can finally, you know, his family can finally have a funeral. He can finally be laid to rest. I don't know if Charles' body has been released. Hopefully it has, but he can finally be laid to rest to a father who fought very, very hard to keep him safe. he didn't succeed, but, going through the trial, you just saw how hard Charles fought to get anyone to listen to how crazy Lori was becoming, and everyone just kind of brushed him off. But he tried so very hard, and it's just so sad when you had to listen to the trial and hear this man fighting to be heard over all this noise, and she was able to kinda smile and bat her eyes, and she could, kind of manipulate people into thinking she was not crazy. So, I'm glad that his family finally gets to take him home and gets to, have a respectful memorial for him, and kind of gets to put this have a true celebration of who he was, without the trials, without anything else, and just gets to have that celebration of him. So that is our final story today. Uh, the world is a little bit nutty, but you know what? We have strangers at Thanksgiving. We have grandparents who finally get to celebrate the life of their grandson. You know, Unfortunately, we have people trying to give themselves injections into their lips. We have a Hell's Angel who knows about crematorias, and we have greenies who don't know anything about storing bodies. I mean, it is a weirdo. It is a weirdo. But just try to be kind to one person today. Compliment someone on their shoes, compliment someone on their shirt. Be a little bit nicer to yourself. I will see you in a couple minutes, and we will be starting the defense's case on the Boy in the Box trial. We should be getting that case done this week, I promise. And then if I don't see you there, I will see you tonight for more newsy news. As you can see, I have a lot more stories that we didn't get to. Oh, interesting. I don't watch The Voice. I have no idea. But I will have to watch The Voice, I guess. I will see you all in a little bit. Have a wonderful day if I don't see you again. It's hump day. Remember, Kindle, Unlimited exclusives come out today, so if you are dying to get new Smexy books, they come out today. I will see you later. Bye, guys.